So we're going to go ahead and start the presentation. All right, welcome guys. My name is Aaron Reed. I am an L1 out of Oklahoma City. Today we're going to be talking about hidden card error. Hidden card error is one of the newer things that has happened to the IPG as of the last couple of years. I thought it was kind of important to go back for a quick history on it because a lot of players, as David was saying before, drop out of the game and come back in. So like real quick, how many people remember mana burn? How many people remember damage going on the stack? How many people remember the old Mulligan rule where it was if you had all lands or no lands, you or your opponent can yeah, so things change over time. So it's kind of important for us to remember what it used to be as well as remembering what it is now. So this module is going to go over a few things today. We're going to go over a brief explanation of very commonly used terms. They are available on your handout, which is also available online. And that's just so that we all have the same idea. So that way if I say FTR, you know that that means failure to reveal. We're going to go over a very brief and recent history of changes to the IPG leading to the current version of hidden card error. A more lengthy explanation is available on the handout, but I just wanted to hit the big notes. And most importantly, we're going to go over examples of hidden card error because it's important that you know it. It's even more important that you know how to use it. So the first thing we're going to go over is I'm going to quickly go over the glossary with FTR being failure to reveal. That is what it sounds like. You needed to reveal a choice, like search your library for an artifact, and you didn't reveal it was an artifact. Game rule violation is defined in the IPG. Hidden card error as well. Game rule violation is where you have done something wrong. Hidden card error is where you've done something where it's between two hidden sets. Mulligan procedure error. You did something wrong at the start of game relative to mulliganing. You'll oftentimes see the word set. A set is a subsection of cards that a fix can be applied to. So when it says to work on the lowest set possible, you figure out what the lowest subsection is that you need to apply the fix to. Because it's going over history, we're going to have some unofficial and outdated terms. DEC is drawing extra cards. That is a penalty that used to exist that no longer does. Improper drawing at start of game, or ID at SOG. The unofficial term that you'll see is rummage. Based off of Rummaging Goblin, it is where you discard a card, then draw a card. You have loot, which is from Merfolk Looter, where you draw and then you discard. And the last thing is the unofficial term called Thoughtseize Fix. This one is very important. If you forget everything else on here, remember this one because it will be referenced a lot. It is where you reveal whatever the hidden set is, the opponent chooses a card, and any actions are done from there. All of these are available on your front page of your handout. So we kind of talked about this before. We need a point of reference. If you're going to look at a change, you need to figure out where you started to where you go. If I'm standing right here and I think, what's changed? If I don't have the point to look back to, then I have no idea what that is. And as I said before, it's good to know how the game has changed. It's good to see where it's come from so that we can kind of figure out what they're leading towards. It's also really useful for the players and judges who've taken a break. So for us today, we're going to use Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir as our starting point. Specifically, we're going to look at round 6 with Patrick Chapin versus Mikola Ancona. I can see Johnny already knows exactly what I'm talking about. Just so that you guys know the official date, this was April 11th, 2005, or 2015, 2.5 years ago. Not a very long time. I actually have this video embedded. This is from YouTube. It's about 30 seconds. It's the most important 30 seconds relative to this PowerPoint. And it's going to go over a lot of where we have come from. So let's watch. It's kind of hard to hear, but we're going to go over a play-by-play after. Okay, so we're going to quickly go over what just happened. The first thing that happens is Patrick Chapin activates the second +1 ability of a Johnny Mentor of Heroes. It's a little hard to read, but let's go over it. The second ability says, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura, creature, or planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in any order. He places his hand face down on the table. From there, he sees the following 4 cards. Tasigur, the Golden Fang. Plains. Temple Malady. He places the Tasigur face down at an anomalous angle. It's actually almost a 90-degree angle when you go back and you look at it. He places the rest at the bottom of his library. And Cora correctly states that Patrick Chapin needed to reveal the card. He does say, I will show you my whole hand. However, Kevin Dupree, the judge that was standing by, ruled that it was a game rule violation and had to be upgraded to a game loss. Ricardo Tessitore, the head judge at the time, upholds the ruling. Real quick poll, how many of you guys think that that was the correct ruling? How many of you guys think it was an incorrect ruling? How many of you guys think that we probably need to go back to the IPG at that time to really answer that question? Yep, and I actually have it up here. Game rule violation, this was the old one. Please do not use this at any event that you use. But the bolded area says an error that an opponent has no opportunity to verify the legality of should have its penalty upgraded. He failed to reveal. It hits this clause. He is given a game loss. So we're going to very, very quickly go over some of the really, really big rules changes. Specifically, we're going to look at Oath of the Gatewatch and I believe Shadows over Innistrad, which were the 2 ones that really got HCE in. As you can see in your handout on the back side, I have a full list of all of the changes as they've happened. But a lot of that are just really small minutia, like clarifying language is added so that you know what a set is. Well, that's not really relevant to this. We have 50 minutes, and I really want to get through the practice problems. But that's all really good information for you to go through on your own time. So first, we're going to go to the Oath of the Gatewatch update, which was January 22nd, 2016, less than a year after that. Drawing extra cards, improper drawing at start of games, and failure to reveal are all combined and become hidden card error. Game rule violations that lead to hidden card error are not treated as hidden card error. Failure to reveal's errors are given the Thoughtseize fix, where the card is placed into the previous zone with 0 replacement. Failure to reveal of a morph is HCE and is upgraded to a game loss. From there, we go to Shadows over Innistrad. These are the rules as of April 8th. It was the next set that came out. Improper drawing at start of game is removed from HCE and becomes MPE. The reason why this happened was because there were too many penalties that were being miscommunicated as HCE, and it was a little confusing. They thought this was a really good area where we could clarify this. They also changed the way that failure to reveal was dealt with. Your first HCE is given the Thoughtseize fix, and if the card chosen is no longer legal, it is placed in the previous zone with no replacement. So if I have a hand of 6 lands, and I have something that fetches for a land in my hand, and I grab a land and I forget to reveal, Thoughtseize fix, he says, oh, you chose the forest. The forest is a legal choice, so nothing happens. I have 6 cards, and I have an Ajani, Mentor of Heroes, in my hand. He goes, you chose the Ajani. And I say, okay, and I put it back in my library with no replacement. This was changed in Aether Revolt to replace to do another event, and hopefully make it right this time. If you have a hidden card error resulting from a failure to reveal that does not have restrictions on the card, which I'll go over in just a moment, it also has the Thoughtseize fix with the opponent choosing the card that wasn't revealed. So if I have Dark Confidant on the field, and I say, upkeep trigger Bob, and I grab the card and I put it into my hand, and the opponent says, Judge, he said Bob trigger and he didn't reveal it. Then the judge says, okay, reveal your hand. Pick which one he didn't reveal. The opponent probably picks the highest card in the hand. The last one is that drawing errors like looting instead of rummaging now have the Thoughtseize fix with the opponent choosing the card to be drawn and the actions proceeding normally from there. The reason that this one is a little odd is because drawing and rummaging, while kind of leading to the same effect, whenever I whenever I loot, I can discard the card that I just drew. But whenever I rummage, I can't discard that card. So I set the card, so I show my hand. The opponent says, you're going to draw that land. I set the land to the side. I then discard the card from my hand, like I should have, and I draw that land. That's it. Those are the big ones. The clarifying language helps whenever you're identifying things, but those are the ones that you need to remember as far as coming off of that drawing extra cards or GRV error. These are the current rules for the IPG as of Ixalan. Hidden card error is when a player commits an error in the game that cannot be corrected by only publicly available information and does so without his or her opponent's permission. This infraction only applies when a card whose identity is known to only one player is in a hidden set of cards both before and after the error. This infraction does not apply to simple dexterity errors, such as when a card is being pulled off the library, sticks to another card, and is seen or knocked off the library. The cards themselves must be part of a distinct set intended by the player. This one still only has the one upgrade for failing to reveal a morph creature. Mulligan procedure error, which came off of HCE, is a player makes an error during the Mulligan process. This infraction does not apply to errors made once pregame procedures are complete. Scrying for more than one card after taking a Mulligan is treated as a hidden card error. Trivial process errors that provide no advantage, such as declaring an intent to Mulligan early, are not an infraction. The last one is game rule violation. We're just going to go over the top part of that, which says it's a catch-all. It covers the majority of game situations in which a player makes an error or fails to follow a game procedure correctly, and it handles violations of the comprehensive rules that are not covered by other gameplay errors. There's really a few big takeaways that you need to get from this. First off, HCE covers when the following happens. A card goes from a hidden set to a hidden set. At that point, the opponent has no opportunity to say, yeah, that was definitely a Mutavault that you just drew. The second part is it's known to at least one player and unknown to at least one player. So at that point, the opponent has no way to clarify, oh yeah, that definitely was an artifact that you grabbed with that Fabricate. It has to be an intentionally created set. So if I'm playing and I tap my island and I knock off the top card of my library, yes, it's hidden set. Even if I knock it off and it's face down, I didn't intend to create that set. At that point, it's not hidden card error. The last part is that it didn't originate from a publicly correctable error. Publicly correctable error talks about the opponent had a way to correct that information before you did it. Brainstorming off of a forest, for instance. That is a public information that leads to the hidden card error and therefore is not HCE. It is treated as GRV, even though it leads to an HCE situation. You do generally end up with more cards in hand at this point. Really feels like HCE, but it's not because it started with the publicly correctable error. But let's be honest. You guys really came here for the practice problems, right? So I've got about 7 of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to present them on the screen. I'm going to read them for the streamers at home. I've got a few assumptions that we need to make. The first is that an investigation of the situation has removed USCC from the possibilities. While technically, yes, any call that you take as a judge has cheating as a possibility. So we're going to pretend that nobody is cheating and they all did it unintentionally. The second thing is that, as with all questions, the active player's name will start with A and the non-active player's name will start with N. The third is that it is a competitive REL event. Your job is to find the following. What infraction, if any, has occurred? What penalty to assess? Then what fix, if any, to apply? Our first problem. Alex has 2 cards in hand and controls a Johnny Mentor of Heroes. He activates the second +1 ability, looks at the top 4 cards of his library, puts 1 in his hand and the other 3 at the bottom of the library. Nick calls for you. What do you do? I'm going to give you guys about another 90 seconds or so, and then if somebody wants to come up and give an answer, I think that would be the best way, and we will eventually find ourselves to the right answer. You may also notice on the front of your sheet, there are several slots. The first one on the left is for any guess that you have. The second one on the right is if you have any notes that you want to take that led you to the right answer. The last thing I will mention is that you guys all have the IPG at your fingertips on your phone. Please don't be afraid to use it. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of eyes. Does anybody want to come up here and give it a shot? Right?
I think it's hidden card error because like I saw recently on video, he's selected a card from 4 and just unfortunately not taken the time to reveal that card to his opponent. And he's completed the whole resolution of that ability without revealing that card. And his opponent, Nick, is concerned.
Okay, so what fix would you apply to that?
And I think I would apply Thoughtseize fix. Because he can't, there's no way he can know which card it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think so. You can't. I don't think that he can. I don't think that it's okay for Alex to have this card in his hand, have a card in his hand that his opponent doesn't know what it is, and so opponent's gonna take the appropriate action that they find is correct. By looking at his hand and choosing a card, removing it.
Okay, so after you've applied Thoughtseize fix, what do you do from there? So I've revealed my hand. I'm Alex. I reveal my hand to you. You say, that sorcery right there, that's the card you just picked.
And and that's not a card you could have. We would now have him be able to make a proper replacement. I'm not sure. A legal target. In other words, couldn't we look at the legal target? Of course, it could turn out very easily that there wouldn't be, in which case he wouldn't get a replacement card.
All right, yeah. So as we just heard, you got to the right answer eventually. The part I was trying to lead you to was recreating the set. So what you would end up doing is, it is a hidden card error, it is a warning, it is the Thoughtseize fix, and then after that you recreate the set. So he looked at the 4 cards initially, and he said, oh, it's this one, and he put the rest at the bottom. Well, if I don't recreate the set, then I give him 3 more off the top to possibly find something even better. So you have to be careful to recreate the set. I don't want to give you more advantage when you made a mistake.
But I want to know that you mean recreate the set, meaning the card that a non-active player chose with the Thoughtseize fix, along with the 3 cards on the bottom.
Okay. Yes. In case you guys couldn't hear on the stream, what he was asking was, when we recreate the set, what is the set that we recreate? It is the 1 card that we picked, the NAP picked, and said, that was the card you chose, plus the 3. Since they're looking at the same 4 cards and hopefully making a proper choice from there. Is there any questions about this one? Right. If the set no longer exists, there is no fix that can be done. All right. If there are no more questions, we're going to go to the next problem. This one is fun. Annalise attacks with Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. The triggered ability resolves. Nathan picks up his library, counts 25 cards, leaving them in the same order, and exiles them. Annalise calls you over. The triggered ability for Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger says, whenever Ulamog attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to mull that over, and then I'm going to ask for an answer. Okay, so we have Robert up here. Robert is going to give us a shot at the answer. So let me turn on your mic, and then you can go ahead.
Okay, so the consensus of two relatively inexperienced L1s is that it's not a hidden card error. It would be a dexterity error. If both players can agree that the 25 cards were put in the correct order, they were kept in order, then you would return the top 5 to the top of the library and then shuffle the library.
Okay, how many people agree with that answer? How many people disagree with that answer? Okay. Let me go ahead and get Billy Ray up here. Billy disagrees with it, and I'm going to see what his rationale is.
As far as the error is concerned, I'm not quite sure. Probably GRV. The 25 cards, if they're in order, then we would put the 5 back on top of the library in order. The 20 would be, the other 20 would remain exiled. But yeah, the number of cards, and I mean, I'm not sure what I would call this as far as the violation is concerned, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the GRV is kind of, the joke is that it's the catch-all. But I've got one more person who wants to chime in.
So it is a GRV. It's just failing to resolve an ability properly. If both players agree that the cards came off in that order, then you would just put 5 back, because you know that these 20 were the ones that were exiled.
You do have to shuffle the
Yeah,
library
that part doesn't change. Yeah.
Point, so they have to be randomized.
Yeah, nobody knew what order those 5 were in, so it would still be re-randomized. But that's only if you both players agree. Sometimes players don't flip them one off the top. Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of reached the consensus that we're definitely going to put 5, numbers 21 through 25, back in the library, and we're going to shuffle. Well, in doing some study for this is actually interesting because it is actually looking at extra cards. And the reason why is, if you look at the IPG, they actually explicitly state this. Toby also, in his blog, states this as well. Looking at extra cards covers when you knock over a card, drop a card while shuffling, start to draw a card when you shouldn't, and milling or dredging too many cards. The reason why it's not hidden card error is because it goes from a hidden set, the library, to a public set, the exile zone. And the only reason it's not GRV is because looking at extra cards covers it. If both players do agree, numbers 21 through 25 were, in fact, 21 through 25, then yes, you take the 5 cards and you shuffle it into the library. If they don't agree, it becomes a lot messier, and I have no idea. It's probably going to be a your mileage may vary answer. All right, next problem. Amanda casts Serum Visions. She draws 1, scries 2, and leaves both on top. She then casts Think Twice, which is draw a card, flashback 2 in blue. She inexplicably draws 3 cards. Nico calls you over. Again, removing USCC is a possibility. what is the infraction, what is the penalty, and what is the fix? The question was just asked, are we assuming that Amanda cast Think Twice twice? We are not. We are assuming that she only cast it once, but for some reason drew 3 cards. The best explanation I can think of is she normally plays Vintage, and for whatever reason thought Think Twice was Ancestral Recall. Yeah, this is probably the one that comes closest to USCC, but for the purposes of this, it is not USCC. I'm seeing a lot of eyes. Do I have anybody that wants to take a stab at this? Come on, folks, don't make me voluntold someone. No one? Hey, we have a brave volunteer. All right, so walk us through it.
Serum Vision resolves properly. There's no need to mess with that part. It's the extra drawing from Think Twice, which I think would be a hidden card error. Thought C's fix for the 2 extra cards. What do you do with the 2 extra cards? They'd be put back onto the library in a random order. Or no, because of the scry. Yeah, because the one would have been not scried on top.
So Michael has said that we don't worry about Serum Visions. We Thought C's fix the hand, which has extra cards in it. We put 2 back into the library, and we shuffle them into the random portion of the library. Oh, in a random order on top. Okay. Does anybody have any other ideas? I'm going to go with Johnny.
All right. So this is kind of hairy, but I think we can do it. So she should have drawn 1 card, and that should have been, the card was scried to the top. And I'll admit I was looking at the IPG, so I think I'm pretty sure of this. But so there are 2 extra cards that she drew. So the fix for that would be to put, the opponent gets to choose 2 cards from her hand, put them on top, shuffle them in the library. And then the opponent gets to choose the card that was scried, because the opponent doesn't know what it is. And that card's going to remain on top. And then Think Twice would resolve, and Amanda would draw that card.
Okay, so now we have one that says that Think Twice gets backed up, 2 cards get put on top because we knew where they were, and then one gets shuffled away, and then she draws one off of Think Twice. Did I get that right? Sorry, 2 cards get shuffled in, she scries one on top and draws off of Think Twice. Okay. All right. Anybody else have any ideas?
Yeah, I don't think. Okay, if it was if we were really backing up to before you draw the card from Think Twice, and she drew 3. I thought we said she drew 3 cards from Think Twice. Okay, so I'm just concerned. Oh, do you mean you think that she drew 3 cards total from the procedure of playing both these cards? I thought she drew 3 cards when she resolved Think Twice. In which case,
yeah. Let me clarify. She has drawn 2 cards legally and 2 cards illegally in this scenario. Okay. Do you want to change your answer slightly?
Sorry. So it would be 1 card of the opponent's choice is shuffled back in, and then the opponent gets to Thoughtseize fix the 2 scried cards those cards are put on top. In a and it's like now I don't know what order they would go in.
All right. I've got Zach wanting to put in one more comment, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to show you guys what it is.
So you have on the top of the library 2 cards that were scried there. So when you draw 3, that's where we're at, right? When you draw 3, you grabbed 1 card from a random unknown set, and you grabbed 1 card illegally from a known set. And so the Thoughtseize fix is to have the opponent put the card back into the random unknown set, and then randomize it, and then grab a card and put it into the known set, which is the top card of the library, and leave it there.
All right, Zach's explanation is actually dead on. So it is HCE, it is a warning. You Thoughtseize 2 cards away from the hand. One is put into the random portion of the library, and the other one is put on top of the library. I have a question over there. What is it? Yes. The question was, is the non-active player the one who decides which one goes where? And the correct answer is yes. The non-active player gets to say, that card goes into the random portion of the library, that card goes on top of your library, and they could even say that card was the one that you drew. Next question. Ambrose has 1 card in hand. He casts Sylvan Scrying from his hand, searches his library for a land, adds a land to his hand, and shuffles his library. Nikolai calls you over. What is the infraction? What is the penalty? And what is the fix? So that is for you to figure out. But I can confirm that no other cards went into his hand except for the land that he got from his library. Right. It does not say he revealed the land, so he did not reveal the land. Word choice is very important. It makes up 7% of what message your audience receives. Seen a lot of people work together. That's really good because you're never going to be alone when you have these judge calls. Unless you're working by yourself, but you still have SOS and Slack. So feel free to ask your neighbors, see what they think. All right. Do I have a volunteer to give me an answer? If not, I'm going to default to David Hibbs. Let's see if somebody's willing to sacrifice themselves for the better part of the regional coordinator. I'm going to let Johnny handle it first.
All right, so I believe this question verifies that the player did search for a land, so we can verify they have a land in hand, and they have 1 card in hand. So I think the fix for this is just, it's still going to be hidden card error, because they were supposed to reveal, and it was a hidden set to a hidden set. But the fix for this, I think, is just going to be revealing that card, revealing the 1 card in their hand.
Okay, I'm going to give it to Zach for a follow-up question.
So if we go with that ruling, then what if their hand originally contained the forest and they search their library for a nicol bolas? And then they show the forest.
Okay. Well, in this instance, you guys have kind of already got to this point, and I'm going to give it to you now. He does only have one card in hand by the time it finishes resolving, and that is a significant point. So, with that, a little bit of extra knowledge, does anybody else have a guess that they want to apply? Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go with the answer. And the answer is the GRV. This one is deceptively HCE. But the reason why it is not is because it goes to a place where the order is known. Top of the library is a known position. If I search my library for a card and put it on top of my library, as long as there wasn't anything cheating related, you can easily say, yeah, that was definitely the card that he searched for. If I have one card in hand, then the card in hand is easily the one that I searched for. So in this case, it is a GRV because I am properly resolved the spell. I did not reveal. But there's no advantage to be mitigated because I have no extra cards in hand. There's no repeat action. So what you do is you reveal the one card in hand to prove the legality of the choice. If it is an illegal choice, it's just a very unpleasant. This one will be fun, and you'll probably never deal with it. But it does technically exist. Aaron has a manifested card face down. Oh, I've already heard the collective groan whenever I said manifest. You are correct. Has a manifested card face down and has 3 cards in hand. He places his hand face down on top of the card and pulls it into his hand. Again, accidentally. Nala calls you over. What do you do? The official ruling from our regional coordinator is you facepalm. That is not an incorrect response. Seen a lot more people go for their phone on this one. That's probably a really good idea to double check. All right. I've picked on Johnny enough. Do I have somebody else who's willing to take a crack at this? She volunteered again. It is. Even though it will probably never come up. I've got Michael who's willing to take a crack. Were you interested, Jamie? Okay. All right. So we're going to have Michael. He's going to give his answer.
So since the player who played, manifest card. I'm assuming since the player who played the card manifested was able to look at it and knows what it is. It's a hidden card error. And I would assume the fix is a Thoughtseize fix because a manifest could be anything. It's not a morph, which has to be a card with morph. That the non-active player then decides to Thoughtseize fix and pick which one was manifested.
Okay, so we have the recommendation, or we have the suggested fix that is hidden card error. I'm assuming warning because this isn't quite failure to reveal of a morph card. And so the recommendation is that you Thoughtseize fix. Non-active player chooses the card to be put face down and manifested at that point. Do I have any questions or comments? Preston wants to give a comment.
do if you choose a non-morph creature to put down? Or sorry, this is manifest. Never mind.
Yeah, this one is
Question.
manifest. This is specifically not morph. Although not morph actually is about the same way. All right, do I have anybody else? I've got one person way over there. Okay, so the recommendation is to, because the manifested card was not known, to put it back into the random portion of the library, shuffle, and then manifest the top card of the library. What do you guys think? Right. Manifested cards are viewable by the player who owns them. Right. It is a hidden set. It is known to one person and not known to another. So Thoughtseize Fix would still apply. And that's actually exactly what happens. It is HCE, it is a warning, it is the Thoughtseize Fix, and you place the chosen card face down on the battlefield. The reason why this is important is the excess cards are returned to their proper location. This actually can matter if you have a card exiled face down somehow that gets shuffled away. It still gets put back face down. It gets back where it was. I believe I have two more. Yes, maybe three. Alice casts Dig Through Time. She picks up and looks at 5 cards, then picks up and looks at 3 cards. Nicole calls you over. Okay, we have a question. Go ahead. Yes. So what happens is, the question was, are the 5 and 3 two different sets? The answer is yes. She picks up 5 cards off the library, looks at those 5, sets them face down, then reaches over and picks up 3 and looks at them. And while she still has those 3 in hand, Nicole calls you over. Yeah. Caught him in time. All right, we're running a little bit shorter on time than I would like, so do I have somebody who's willing to volunteer and answer? I have actually got somebody over there who hasn't answered yet, so I'm going to pass the mic to him. And this is Chase. Okay.
The error would be looking at extra cards, and the fix I would do is to have the opponent look at the 3 from the second set, choose one, it goes back on top.
So we have a proposed penalty of looking at extra cards, a proposed fix of the opponent looks at the 3, chooses one, and puts it back on top of the library. What do you guys think? I've got one over here.
So the error would be looking at extra cards, and I think that if both players can agree that both sets are separate, then you take the set of 3, shuffle it back in the library, and then resolve the other 2.
Okay, so instead of the more or less Thoughtseize Fix, we have a recommendation of shuffling the 3 back in and looking at another 3. Do I have any other ideas? I've got Michael. Sorry, looking at another 2. Thank you for the correction. Yeah, that would be really bad. I know you just looked at 8. Why don't you look at 8 again? Aaron, our bad judge. All right.
I like non-active player looking at the second group of 3 cards, selecting one at their discretion. That one's going to go back in the library, but it's not going to go on top of the library. We're going to shuffle that into the random portion of the library.
What's the penalty?
Warning.
What's the infraction?
Still, I think looking at extra cards.
Okay. Anybody else?
I mean, what Jeff said, except for I think it's a hidden card error, not looking at extra cards.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. It is a hallmark definition of looking at extra cards, or of hidden card error. It's from a hidden set to a known set. It was a distinct set intended by the player. It just accidentally had too many. It's known to player A and not player N. So you would do a warning, Thoughtseize Fix. You pick the card that they should not have had in their hand, and you shuffle it back into the library. Got a remark from Hibbs.
So I'd just like to comment on why we don't pick that whole set, shuffle it back, and then grab 2. The reason being, we don't want to give somebody a shot at, oops, I didn't get what I wanted in that 2. I'm going to grab a 3rd one, so I get those 3 shuffled away, and then I get to look at 2 more cards, right? We don't want to incentivize taking advantage of it and give them another shot at getting what they want out of that ability. We want to just fix that problem to the best of our ability.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I believe I have one more question. I do, and this one is this actually is a favorite of mine. Alan, tired as he is from his previous infraction, has 6 cards in hand. He casts Cathartic Reunion and discards 2. Natasha casts Spell Queller and exiles Cathartic Reunion. After it is exiled, Alan casts Murder, destroying Spell Queller. He then casts the exiled Cathartic Reunion and draws 3. Natasha realizes Alan has extra cards in hand and calls you over. What do you do? I'm going to give you guys about a minute and a half to work through that, and then we are going to go to the very end. David asked how many cards he has in hand. Whenever he casts Cathartic Reunion the second time, he has 5 cards in hand. Okay, so I've got a couple of minutes. Do I have anybody who's willing to give a guess? It looks like Michael is willing to jump in the line of fire again.
Hidden card error, because he took it from a hidden set and put it into a revealed set. The fix would be a Thoughtseize Fix. Natasha picks 3 from his hand to go on top. He then discards the 2 that he has left and then draws those 3 again.
Okay, so we have Hidden Card Error, Thoughtseize, 3 of the cards on top of the library, discard the 2 remaining, and draw 3. Do I have any other suggestions? Johnny, once again.
I agree with the fix, but I think the penalty or the infraction would be a game rule violation.
Okay, so instead of HCE, we have a GRV suggestion. Do I have any questions, comments before I go ahead and reveal this to you? All right. This one actually gets really interesting. It is in fact a GRV. It is a warning, but you only have Alan discard 2 cards at this point. The reason why it is not hidden card error, be careful not to apply this infractions in situations where a publicly correctable error results. He improperly cast the spell. This is no different than tapping 3 and white to cast a Wrath of God. Additional cost was not paid. However, the reason why it is only discard 2 cards is that is actually a partial fix for GRV. It's not something that we really have the authority to go in and fix. All we do is we return the game state to where it should have been. Yes, it does lead to a slight advantage for Alan at this point, but unfortunately, that's the way the rules are written at the moment. That is also the first question I took in training room, and I still have the scar from the dagger. All right. Just real quick, the references that I used for this, Toby Elliott's blog has been updated even from Dragon's Dark here on. All of the information that is available on the summary is actually from that. I went through, read all the articles, found where all the changes were, and looked in the IPG to correlate. That's where all of the information came from. Even the part about exiling or milling too many was also listed on Toby L8's blog. The other one is the AIPG, the AMTR, and the CR, which are all available at blogs.magicjudges.org. The AIPG specifically mentions milling and dredging too many as being looking at extra cards. It's very helpful. And lastly, we have reached the end. Congratulations, you were all just as good as I am, if not better, at recognizing hidden card error. Do you guys have any questions, comments, or even lavish praise for your excellent presenter today? Woohoo! I was called very handsome. I will take that. You mean hidden card error? Looking at extra cards? Looking at extra cards versus... Right. So the reason being is that you create a set, and the set is a distinct set created. She meant to create a set of 7, subset between 5 and 2, and accidentally made 3. Right. And... Right. So it would have been looking at extra cards if she went to grab 2 and the third one stuck and fell off. That would be the dexterity error that generally leads to LEC. But it distinctly was, she's like, I'm going to draw 5. Oh, I need to get 3 more. So because the intent was 3, and that's actually one of the lines where looking at extra cards and hidden card error gets really blurry. So looking at extra cards is not an unreasonable position there. I feel like the most correct position is HCE, and I feel like the fix is better suited with HCE. Okay. Do I have any other questions? Go ahead, Zach. Yes. Okay, so the question was, with the example with Dig Through Time, why don't we just have a judge randomly pick 1 to shuffle away versus the opponent getting to Thoughtseize fix? And the reason why is to mitigate advantage. Because if I can say, oh, well, these 2 were terrible, but my next one might be my Planeswalker I need, and then the judge, you have a 1 in 3 shot of the judge going, that's your Planeswalker. But, you still have a 2 in 3 chance of getting a card that you might have actually needed. So in my example, I scoop 3 off the top. But a lot of times, players don't do that. Players will grab and look at that time. And if they mindlessly go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh, this is too many for me to hold in my hand, 1, 2, 3, you still run into that problem. Hidden card error is largely meant to mitigate advantage without giving game loss. Patrick Chapin, if HCE had existed then, would not have gotten a game loss. We would have recreated the set, as was proven in the first example. So whenever you're applying this, think of the philosophy behind it, because you don't want to be too harsh. I'm getting the call that we are at time. Real quick, any last thing that I can do for you guys? All right, you guys enjoy. If you have any more questions, I am available on Slack, and I am available on Judge Apps. You guys have a good day. Thanks.